I will regret for the rest of my life for abandoning my wife during pregnancy to protect my child. The rain in Seattle always carries a sticky chill, much like Amelia's hand resting on my wrist right now, warm yet unsettling. The blueberry muffins on the breakfast plate still steamed, but she frowned after a small bite, and the sound of her rushing to the bathroom pierced the warmth that should have filled the morning. 3 months and 2 days, she said, wiping her mouth with a towel as she emerged, her eyes glistening with the soft moisture unique to pregnancy. Elias, shall we go to Pike Place Market this weekend to buy some fresh raspberries? Susie says the organic berries there are good for the baby. Her fingers gently brushed her abdomen, a place not yet rounded, but which felt impossibly heavy to me. I mumbled an agreement and reached for my phone. 3 unread messages glowed on the screen, all from Jake. The last one, sent 10 minutes earlier, read, Lillian was in a car accident. She's at Harborview Medical Center, and her condition isn't good. The coffee mug trembled slightly in my hand, and hot liquid splashed onto my tiger's mouth, yet I felt no burn. Lillian, the girl who'd grown up with me on the same street in Bellingham, the best friend who'd gotten drunk with me by Puget Sound when I was dumped at 18, the colleague who now worked with me in the Northwest Mutual Life Insurance building, had been in a car accident. What's wrong? Amelia asked, her voice laced with concern as she drew near. I instinctively turned off the screen and forced a natural smile when I looked up. Nothing, just work. There's a small issue with a project, so I might need to head in early. A flicker of disappointment crossed her eyes, but she nodded anyway, straightening my tie for me. Be careful on the road. Remember to eat something at noon, don't just drink coffee like last time. When I hugged her, I caught the faint lavender scent in her hair, the fragrance of the diffuser I'd given her for her birthday last year. In that moment, it made my throat tighten. The rain intensified as I drove along Interstate 5. The windshield wipers swayed back and forth, never quite clearing the mist from the glass, much like the jumble of thoughts in my head. We'd found out Amelia was pregnant 3 weeks earlier. We'd been dining at the revolving restaurant in the Space Needle that night, and I'd nearly knocked over the wine glass in excitement when she placed the pregnancy test in front of me. We'd planned to convert the attic into a nursery, argued over whether the baby should be named Lucy or Jake, and even scheduled an ultrasound for the coming weekend. But now, I was driving in the opposite direction of the office. The red sign of Harborview Medical Center grew clearer through the rain, and my heart raced faster with each passing minute. In the parking lot, Jake paced anxiously. He ran over the moment he saw my car. She ran a red light and got hit by a truck, he said hoarsely. A broken left leg and intracranial bleeding, she just got out of surgery. Her parents are still in Portland, I didn't dare tell them yet, so I called you first. The corridor outside the ICU was cold and empty, and the smell of disinfectant stung my nostrils. Through the glass, I saw Lillian lying in the hospital bed, her face wrapped in gauze, only her eyes visible as they stared vacantly at the ceiling. When she heard footsteps, she turned her head, and tears suddenly spilled from her eyes the moment she saw me. Elias, I thought I was going to die. I took her cold hand, her knuckles white from gripping the sheets. Don't talk nonsense. You'll be fine. She was still weak, her words coming in broken gasps. She said she'd been rushing to finish a project report when she ran the red light, that she'd been losing sleep from stress lately, and that she'd wanted to talk to me for a long time, but hadn't dared to disturb me and Amelia. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a WeChat message from Amelia. Honey, I made chicken salad for lunch. Should I bring you some? I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, unsure how to reply. Lillian noticed my hesitation, and let go of my hand. Go back. Amelia needs you. The nurses are taking care of me here. But how could I leave? She'd just escaped death, with no family by her side. I replied to Amelia, last-minute overtime on the project. I won't be home for lunch, make sure you eat well. The moment the message sent, I swore I could hear the sound of her disappointment. I stayed until evening. Lillian's condition had stabilized a bit, and she drifted in and out of sleep. I sat on the bench outside her ward, looking at the photo Amelia had sent me. She'd made my favorite apple pie, with 2 plates set out clearly waiting for my return. Below the photo was a message, "It's pouring. Drive slowly." Guilt flooded over me like a tide. I stood up, ready to leave, but a nurse stopped me. "Family of the patient. She's awake and asking for you." I had no choice but to turn back. Lillian's eyes were open, filled with dependence. "I had a nightmare," she said, her voice trembling with tears. "I was walking alone in the dark, so scared. Elias, can you stay a little longer? Just a little while." I couldn't refuse. That night, I didn't go home. I huddled on the bench outside the ward for the entire night. In the early morning, Amelia sent another message. "I rescheduled the ultrasound for next Wednesday, the doctor said it's a better time." Staring at those words, my heart ached as if pricked by needles. The next morning, I bought breakfast and returned to the ward. The moment I pushed the door open, I froze. Amelia stood beside the bed, wearing the cream-colored trench coat I'd bought her, a few strands of hair damp from the rain, a thermos in her hand. When she saw me, there was no anger in her eyes, only a weariness and disappointment I'd never seen before. To make matters worse, her mother, Mrs. Marion, stood behind her, the woman who'd never approved of me, the engineer with no connections. "Elias Corbin," Mrs. Marion's voice was as cold as ice. "My daughter is carrying your child, throwing up her guts at home, and you're here spending the night with another woman. Do you know how shocked I was when the neighbor called to tell me she'd seen your car parked at the hospital?" Lillian tensed, pulling the covers tighter as she tried to explain. "Mrs. Marion, it's not what you think. Lillian and I are just—" "Be quiet." Mrs. Marion cut her off sharply. "An unmarried woman keeping another man's husband at the hospital overnight, how dare you speak?" She turned to me, her eyes filled with contempt. "I warned Amelia time and again that you were too close to this woman, but she wouldn't listen. Now look, my grandson hasn't even been born yet, and he's already witnessing his father's indecency with another woman." Amelia gently tugged at her mother's sleeve, her voice barely a whisper. "Mom, stop." She set the thermos on the nightstand. "Lillian, this is chicken soup, it's good for your recovery." Then she turned to me. "Elias, let's go home." The drive back was suffocatingly silent. The rain still tapped against the car windows, a dull, heavy sound. Amelia stared out the window, saying nothing. I tried several times to explain, but each time Mrs. Marion's warning glare stopped me. The moment we walked in the door, my phone rang. It was my mother. She'd somehow heard about what happened, and she sobbed uncontrollably on the line. "Elias, how could you be so stupid?" Her voice cracked with tears. "Lillian's mother saved your father's life years ago. Of course you should take care of her now that she's hurt, but you can't lie to Amelia. Do you know what people in the neighborhood are saying? They're calling you ungrateful, saying you're abandoning your pregnant wife." Mrs. Marion snatched the phone from my hand and shouted into the receiver. "Martha Corbin, don't use your so-called debt of gratitude to kidnap my daughter. My daughter is carrying your Corbin blood. Elias's responsibility is to her, not that woman." The two old women screamed at each other over the phone while Amelia and I stood aside, like outsiders. After hanging up, Mrs. Marion pointed a finger at me. "Elias, 2 choices. Either cut ties with that woman completely, no more contact ever. Or divorce Amelia, and I'll take my daughter back to Boston." I looked at Amelia, and finally, tears rolled down her cheeks. "Elias, I don't want you to choose," she said, her voice choking. "I just want you to tell me, what do I and this baby mean to you? You know I've already had enough trouble at work lately. The new department head reassigned my core project to someone else just because I'm pregnant, saying I might take leave at any time and affect the progress. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. But what did you do? When I needed you most, you dealt me the hardest blow. Only then did I realize how much pressure Amelia had been under. Gender discrimination at work had already drained her, and my lie had been the final straw. I didn't mean to, Amelia, I said, my voice urgent and strained. I just didn't want you to overthink it. Lillian was really in a critical condition. Didn't want me to overthink it. She let out a bitter laugh. If you really didn't want me to overthink, you should have told me from the start. Elias, trust is like glass, once it breaks, it can never be put back together. That night, she moved into the guest room. The conflict didn't end there. The next day at work, I noticed my colleagues giving me strange looks. When I opened the company's internal forum, a post titled, Northwest Mutual Engineer Cheats on Wife, Leaves Pregnant Spouse Alone at Home, was pinned to the top. It included photos of me in the hospital parking lot, and candid shots of Lillian's ward. The poster was anonymous, but every line implied an improper relationship between Lillian and me. Overnight, I became the company's celebrity. Some called me ungrateful, others immoral. Clients even called the company demanding to replace me as their project manager. My department head summoned me for a serious talk. Elias, the company values employees' personal integrity highly, he said sternly. This incident has damaged the company's reputation. You're suspended until things calm down. I was furious and helpless, knowing someone had done this on purpose. When I got home and told Amelia what had happened, hoping for her understanding, she only said flatly, "That's your business, handle it yourself." Her coldness cut me like a knife. Over the next few days, I juggled dealing with the company mess and trying to make amends to Amelia. I made her breakfast every morning, massaged her legs at night, and took the initiative to watch prenatal care videos with her, but she remained distant and cold. To make things worse, my mother and Mrs. Marion's feud escalated. They argued on the phone every day, trapping Amelia and me in the middle, leaving us gasping for air. Wednesday arrived, the day we'd agreed to go for the ultrasound. I took the day off, bought Amelia's favorite sunflowers in advance, and waited for her in the living room. But as time passed, there was no sign of her. I walked into the guest room and found it empty. Her suitcase was gone, and only a note and a prenatal checkup report lay on the dresser. Elias, the note read, her handwriting neat but resolute. I'm leaving for Boston. Not because of Marion's pressure, not because of the rumors online, but because I'm truly tired. I don't want my child to be born into a family filled with quarrels and suspicion, and I don't want to live every day wondering, who do you really love? I'm leaving the prenatal report for you, this is our baby, and my only concern. Don't look for me. I'll let you know when the baby is born. Trembling uncontrollably, I held the note. I called her like a madman, but her phone was already turned off. I rushed to the airport, only to be told there was no record of her boarding a flight. She must have taken a bus. I drove to Boston, but Mrs. Marion said she hadn't returned home, and hadn't told anyone where she'd gone. I wandered the streets of Boston like a headless chicken for a whole week, but found no trace of her. Amelia had vanished from my life completely, like she'd never existed. When I returned to Seattle, I quit my job, sold the house we'd decorated together, and moved to Bellingham. I spent every day drowning in remorse, carrying Amelia's photo in my wallet wherever I went. After Lillian was discharged, she came to see me on her own. She told me the post had been made by one of her suitors, a man who'd wanted to get back at her by ruining my reputation after she'd rejected him. She'd cut off all contact with him and posted a clarification on the company forum, explaining the truth. Elias, I'm so sorry, she said, her eyes red. This is all my fault. You should go find her, I support you. I shook my head, forcing a bitter smile. It's not your fault. I messed up. I didn't handle my relationship with you properly, and I didn't trust Amelia. That's what drove her away. In the days that followed, I started looking for a new job, trying to get my life back on track. I called Mrs. Marion once a month to ask about Amelia, but she always said she didn't know anything. I even tried asking Amelia's friends for clues, but they all clammed up, clearly following her orders. Time passed quickly and 6 months slipped by. The rain in Seattle stopped and warm summer arrived. One day, while I was working at an engineering firm in Bellingham, my phone rang. It was Mrs. Marion. Her voice was calm. Elias, Amelia gave birth. It's a girl, healthy. She asked me to tell you her name is Lucy, just like you two discussed. My hands shook with excitement. Where is she? Can I go see her? There was a long silence on the other end before Mrs. Marion spoke again. Amelia says she's living well now, peacefully. She doesn't want to be disturbed by the past, and she doesn't want Lucy dragged into our conflicts. She said when Lucy grows up, if she wants to know you, she'll let her find you. Elias, let her go, let yourself go too. Tears streamed down my face as I held the phone. I knew Amelia truly didn't want to see me anymore. I didn't press further. Please tell her I'll wait until the day Lucy comes looking for me. And tell her I'll work hard, save an education fund for Lucy. No matter where she is, I'll fulfill my duty as a father. After hanging up, I walked to the window and looked out at the bright sunshine. The sea in Bellingham was blue, different from Puget Sound but equally calming. I knew I'd lost Amelia, lost our love, but I still had Lucy, still had a chance to make amends. I never saw Amelia again after that. Every month, I transferred money to the account Mrs. Marion provided and sent baby supplies and toys. Occasionally, Mrs. Marion would send me photos of Lucy, a little girl with the same blue eyes as Amelia, smiling like an angel. I learned to live alone, learned to face my mistakes. I no longer ran away, no longer acted cowardly. I worked hard and lived actively. I knew Amelia must be happy now, and all I could do was live well, wait for Lucy to grow up, and wait for the day she might forgive me. The rain will still fall in Seattle, and the wind will still blow in Bellingham, but the rain in my heart has stopped. I believe that one day the sun will dispel all the darkness, and I will finally find my own warmth. But that warmth will never include Amelia again, and that will be my greatest regret for the rest of my life.